Please follow along on slide 7 as we will read the section of the text below, and for the first read, we will highlight parts of the text that describe Mrs. Pratchett. But the most loathsome thing about Mrs. Pratchett was the filth that clung around her. Her apron was gray and greasy. Her blouse had bits of breakfast all over it, toast crumbs and tea stains and splotches of dried egg yolk. I'm going to pause right there because I already see a couple of things that I would like to highlight because they describe Miss Pratchett. The first thing that stands out to me is this part here, the filth that clung around her. So I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to drag it, go to my highlight tool here. And this blue is a lovely color, so I'm going to choose that color there. Now, I picked this piece of text because it describes the way Miss Pratchett looks, that this filth is clung around her, showing that she's really dirty and filthy. There are 2 more pieces of text that I think support this idea, so I'm also going to highlight those. The first one, her apron, was gray and greasy, again supporting the idea that she is filthy and disgusting, and that her blouse had bits of breakfast all over it. Again, supporting this idea that she is dirty. I'm going to go back to my highlight tool here, pick that shade of blue. So I've already highlighted text that I believe describes Mrs. Pratchett. I'm going to continue reading. It was her hands, however, that disturbed us most. They were disgusting. They were black with dirt and grime. They looked as though they had been putting lumps of coal on the fire all day. And do not forget, please, that it was these very hands and fingers that she plunged into the sweet jars when we asked for a pennyworth of treacle toffee or wine gums or nut clusters or whatever. There were few precious health laws in those days, and nobody, least of all Mrs. Pratchett, ever thought of using a little shovel for getting out the sweets as they do today. The mere sight of her grimy right hand with its black fingernails digging an ounce of chocolate fudge out of a jar would have caused a starving tramp to go running from the shop. But not us. Sweets were our lifeblood. We would have put up with far worse than that to get them. So we simply stood and watched in sullen silence while this disgusting old woman stirred around inside the jars with her foul fingers. I'm going to keep reading on slide 8. The other thing we hated Miss Pratchett for was her meanness. Unless you spent a whole 6pence all in one go, she wouldn't give you a bag. Instead, you got your sweets twisted up in a small piece of newspaper, which she tore off a pile of old Daily Mirrors lying on the counter. So you can well understand that we had it in for Mrs. Pratchett in a big way. But we didn't quite know what to do about it. Many schemes were put forward, but none of them was any good. None of them, that is, until suddenly, one memorable afternoon, we found the dead mouse. I'd like you to go back to slide 7 and slide 8 and highlight parts of the text that describe Mrs. Pratchett. Go ahead and do that now, please.